And you know how I know the NBA season is closing? When takes like this are releasing. Bills need to be paid. Shout out to Swipe Up for clipping this up. It's been all over my timeline over the last hour. Apparently, Gilbert Arena said that Nikola Jokic is the worst MVP winner in the last 40 years. I haven't seen the full clip because I wanted to save it for this specific reaction. There's a couple other things that he said down here as well. But yeah, let's see what he had to say. It's not on Gil's Arena this time. This is on Nightcap. I'm going to move myself down here. Let's go.
Jokic is probably statistically, when it comes to overall game, the worst MVP winner.
Statistically.
He's the worst MVP winner in the last 40 years.
Last
Why
40.
do you say that? When you're talking about MVP.
That's since 82, chat. Need to set the parameters. Statistically, the worst MVP since in the last 40 years. So that's since 1994.
The guys outside of first and second place, their teams.
1984, excuse me. 1984. I'm tripping.
Guys outside of first and second place, their teams was first and second place. The people who won the MVP, their teams was first and second. When Jordan won it, his team record, they were 7th in the NBA.
Okay.
That year, he averaged 35, 6, 5, 3 steals. All-Star MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, scoring title, steals leader. That was the MVP. Historic year. Makes sense.
Okay.
Right? That makes sense. When Westbrook won it, his team had the 10th best record. Triple-double.
First time since Oscar Robertson in
He did something amazing. His team was 10th, but he did something that wasn't done since Oscar Robertson. When Jokic in 2021, Jokic's team was 5th. He averaged 26, 8, and 10. What was the historic part of that?
26, 8,
There was no
10.
historic. Oh, the big man almost had a triple-double. Let's give it to him. That's what the narrative was. A big man almost won the triple-double, and they gave it to him when his team record was like that. His second MVP, his team was tied in 10th place.
10th place.
10th best record in the NBA, 27, 8, and 13. What was historic about it? The two people before him had an amazing season.
Okay, my bad, y'all. I thought I was about to keep going. So let me read the thread. So I think a couple things to clarify, and I guess throw Gil some bail on this regard. When he said 10th best record, he is talking about the league-wide record. Because he mentioned Jokic was the 10th seed in his second MVP. I believe he had the 10th best record in the league, but they were the 6th seed in the Western Conference. And also, Gil apparently had this to say as well. Gil thinks Jason Tatum should have more MVP consideration than Nikola Jokic this season. And he should have won over Jokic in the 2022 season.
Like, I know Jason Tatum's over there like, what do I need to do? My team's in first place. Every year, we've dominated every year. I'm the best player, and I'm playing very well. How am I not an MVP? In 2022, team was first. He averaged 27, 8, and 4 and went against 27, 8, and 13. But his team was 10th. Like, how do you justify it? That's what I'm saying. Like,
While I got your attention right now, I do just want to shout out real quick the new channel that I started recently. It is called BSOLZ. I'll put the link in the description down below. For those who don't know, I stream regularly on Twitch, and I do not just talk about basketball exclusively. We actually do a bunch of shit in the streams. So I created a new plug channel for all the shenanigans and the videos and the reactions and the activities and the games that we do on stream. If you can't catch up to the live stream and all of that, and you want to catch up to what a BSOLZ stream even looks like, go ahead, check it out. Links in the description. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of next week, so we're closing in on it. But back to the video, man. Just want to shout that out real quick. So understanding the clip, I personally feel like what Gil is really trying to get at here, and I think he just did a really, really bad job of explaining it, is that throughout the MVP history, throughout the history of the league when it comes to giving out the MVP, seeding does matter, right? Winning does matter. I had this graphic going into the 2020 season, I believe, or maybe even after, that 95% of NBA MVP winners had a top 4 record in the league. Period, point blank. There are a couple of exceptions. One of them was 2017, Russell Westbrook. One of them was 1988, Michael Jordan, or whichever year he went crazy, but they weren't winning games. Another one was like Bob Pettit, right, which was the very first inaugural MVP. Another one was Kareem at one point in the 70s, and I believe Moses Malone got an MVP in the 80s without having a top 4 record in the league. So Gil is right on that front, you know, in terms of typically who the MVP is given to. Seeding does matter. It's just weird to me that he's making this case when Jokic is the second seed. When the Nuggets are on pace to win 57, 58 games, also a top 4 record in the league. I don't really know what because based off of his own criteria, you got a guy who is exact all the things I just said. I don't even want to reiterate it. That fits Gil's criteria. But what he's pointing to is the last 2 MVPs that he's gotten. Really is what he's talking about. The first 2 MVPs Nikola Jokic has gotten, he didn't deserve them because, you know, the Nuggets were not a top 4 team in the league, and the things he was doing was not historic enough to warrant those MVPs. I think that's the point he was trying to get at. He just did a horrible job of explaining it. And looking at these seasons, we're looking at, this is his first MVP right here, 26, 10, and 8. He shot 57% from the field, shot 39% from 3, and shot 87% from the line. I don't know why Gilbert Arenas is so stuck on specifically averaging a triple-double, and those are the only metrics of being of having a historic season, it feels like, because he brought this up with Luka too. I mean, what's really historic about it? Is he averaging a triple-double? Like, bro, you're looking at a center who's averaging 26 and 10. That in and of itself is already like, what the fuck? On this efficiency specifically. A center, 26 points and 11 rebounds. Shooting Shaq-like efficiency from the field. Shooting close to 40% from 3 on 3 threes a game. And shooting close to 90% from the line when he gets to the line at 6 free throws a night. That is insane scoring. And he also played all 72 games, by the way. When you add the passing component to that, the fact that this big man is able to give you 8 assists on top of that, become one of the best passers in the league, right? That's what makes it historic. I'm not too much of a stat nerd to know how many players have done this, but I would like to think that the only players capable of averaging 25, 10, and 7 around these numbers, 25, 10, and 7, from even non-bigs, would be Wilt Chamberlain, and that's it. I'm literally trying to think. Hakeem can't do this. Shaq couldn't do this. Moses Malone couldn't do this. Maybe Chris Webber. Let me look at Chris Webber. Chris Webber might have actually had one of these seasons. 25, 10 and okay, Chris Webber had 27, 11, and 4. 23, 11, and 5. So Chris Webber got close. but it's still not 25, 10, and 8 or 25, 10, and 7. Pau Gasol, I'm even thinking of, some people would love to make the case that Sabonis, Arvydas Sabonis would have done it in the NBA if he was in his prime in the NBA, but, at the end of the day, he still never did it. So when he talked about Russell Westbrook having a historic season, talking about something that wasn't done since the 60s, I would argue that Nikola Jokic did that in his first MVP season. I do think this is historic. This is some not normal shit what we're seeing right here from a big man. This isn't. You know what I'm saying? And then going on to his next season, I'm just trying to figure out what isn't historic about this, especially from the lens that he's talking about, right? Especially from the lens that he's talking about. 27 points. So his points per game went up. His rebounds went up. His assists went down by 0.4. But at the end of the day, he averaged 8 assists here, 8 assists here. On an average day, you're about to get 8 assists from Nikola Jokic. His efficiency went up from the field. From 3, it went down, but his volume went up a little bit. And from the line, it went from 87 to 81. Again, name me the big who was capable of averaging 27 points, 14 rebounds, and 7 to 8 assists. You would have to go back to Wilt Chamberlain. You would have to go back to Wilt Chamberlain. We go to 2023. He became second in MVP voting. He didn't even win this year. Same thing. 25 points, 12 rebounds. Now from 8 assists to 10 assists. His most efficient season ever, going from 58 to 63, going from 34 to 38, back up to 38. Volume did go down by half. Still shooting 82% from the line. What is not historic about what Nikola Jokic is doing? The answer is nothing. It is historic shit. And the fact that he's been doing this for 4 straight years, and Gilbert wants to make the case that it isn't something we've seen before, or it is something that we've seen before, is asinine. Asa 8, Asa 9, Asa 10. What are we doing? This is just an all-around bad take. And looking at the worst MVP winner in the last 40 years, statistically, because I think that's still the crux of his point, by the way. He said Nikola Jokic is statistically the worst MVP winner in the last 40 years. He is why. So that alone, the parameters we're looking at is from 1984 and on. We're looking at statistics and individual performance and not winning. So him bringing up winning was kind of right? And when I look at non-impressive statistical seasons, I'm sorry. How can you look at 27, 14, and 8 and respect to Steve Nash and what he did and the impact that he had and say that's less statistically impressive than Steve Nash, who you played against, winning an MVP averaging 15 points and 12 assists. 15 points, 12 assists on 50, 40, 89 splits, right? Great efficiency. How are you about to tell me that statistically 27, 14, and 9 or 8 is worse than 19 points and 11 assists a game? How are you about to do that? Hell, we can go to Dirk Nowitzki. And this is crazy that we have to do this, and this is why I hate takes like this, bro. Is because now I gotta, you know what I'm saying? Not necessarily undermine, but give you counterexamples and make it seem like other seasons aren't great for the sake of this argument. But Dirk Nowitzki, when he won his MVP, 24.6 points, 8.9 rebounds, 50, 40, 90. Are you about to sit here and tell me that you value the 40% specifically so much and the 90% from the line that we're just about to ignore the fact that Nikola Jokic in that 2021 season shot 8% better from the field. Let me look at true shooting. So Dirk's true shooting this season was 60.5. I don't know the relative true shooting. And Nikola Jokic in 2021 was 64.7. League shooting, true shooting was 57. So that's 5% true shooting points above the league average, roughly. And when we look at Dirk Nowitzki, we're looking at, where is it? Where's adjusted shooting? Please show me. In his MVP season, here we go. MVP season, he shot 60.5% from the field. League average was 54. So even relative to their era, Nikola Jokic was just more efficient. So again, I ask, what are we doing? What are we doing from a statistical standpoint? And I hate to say this, but Nikola Jokic, from a statistical standpoint, his MVP seasons are better than some of these Michael Jordan seasons. I'm sorry, but Jokic's MVP seasons, you can make a clear-cut argument that they are better than Michael Jordan, averaging 29 points, 4 assists, 6 rebounds on 47, 23, 78 splits. I'm sorry. I know I don't want to. I know some of y'all don't want to take it there, but let's take it there at this point. Kobe Bryant. The weird part about this to me, chat, is saying that Nikola Jokic doesn't have a statistical argument when the reason he won those awards was because of damn near solely statistics, because it wasn't winning. Like Gil said, it wasn't winning. He did not win those MVPs because the Nuggets were winning at historic rates. It was because of statistical achievements that he achieved. So now we're about to go back and say, statistically speaking, he had some of the worst statistical seasons from MVP winners. What are we doing? Kobe Bryant in his MVP season, 28, 5, and 6, 46, 36, 84. I'm sorry, statistically speaking, Nikola Jokic was more impressive. Statistically speaking. Nikola Jokic during that 2-year stretch and even till this day is breaking records left and right. You know what I'm saying? Somehow is able to one-up MVP seasons for back-to-back-to-back seasons. Like, it's actually insane what this guy is doing. I think Gil was just all over the place with that take. He was just all over the place with that take. The initial take that he was trying to explain did not correlate to the actual point he was making, and if anything, those 2 points were directly contradicting each other, and it just did not make sense. To me, it did not make sense. And I will say this, I think my overarching point as well that frustrates me about this whole conversation is just NBA discourse in general when it comes to the MVP award, right? Yeah, we did come from a time where winning was such a big part of the argument as to who the most valuable player was. Yeah, for a big portion of NBA history, the MVP award did feel like a best player on the best team award. So now that since 2017, we have adjusted our standards, we have become more nuanced basketball watchers to the point where the MVP award is not just a best player on the best team award. Now we're kind of backtracking and doing a lot of but what aboutisms about what the MVP should be now, based off of standards that are not the standard anymore. That's the most frustrating thing to me about the MVP discussion. Is y'all want to pick and choose when y'all want to be progressive about the MVP and when you don't. And I'll stand by this now, and I've seen enough. I do think this new standard of the MVP award has been a net negative to NBA discourse. And effectively NBA history and how we view basketball. Because while I do appreciate the more nuanced conversations, while I do appreciate the fact that we recognize that the most valuable player in the league, the most productive player in the league, is not directly correlated with just extremely winning basketball. You know what I'm saying? We can value the dude leading his team to 54 wins as a 3 seed because he's putting up crazy statistics. You know, without his second and third best player not playing that many games. We can have those nuanced conversations now that I feel like back in the day, it would have just been, who won 60 games? Did he put up good numbers? Boom, recipe for an MVP. Let's just give it to him. But I think people at this point are so confused on what it takes to win the MVP that there is no set criteria. Because there is no set criteria. Because that precedent that once existed is now being broken. Right? It's a lot of effectively conservative basketball takes. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how else to put it. It's a lot of conservative basketball takes. Wait a minute. When I grew up, basketball was this one thing. Why did we change it? You know? Back in 84, this was the deal. Why can't it be the case this time? It's a lot of those arguments, and it's frustrating. I do think it's frustrating. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. That's one of the worst takes of the year so far. That's definitely one of the candidates. Go ahead and subscribe to the new channel down below, All of Souls. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs. That's the plug channel for my Twitch streams. If you enjoy other content that isn't basketball from me. If you don't force yourself, man. I truly do not need you on there. I need people who want to watch the content on there. But with that being said, I'm going to catch you on the next one, man. Peace.